So can I hear good morning, everybody?
Good morning.
Yay! Great. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ann Miller. I'm the brand manager for the RE/MAX collection. I'm at the corporate office in Denver, Colorado, and it is just a thrill to be here. So thank you. I appreciate all of you attending today. A few things we're just going to talk about housekeeping-wise. I've been asked when it's question time, if you can come up to the podium and ask your question, so we're not running around with a microphone. So if you have questions, again, when we finish with the session up here, come on up to the mic and ask your questions so everybody can hear. So we have some exciting things happening in the luxury market. It's been a great year for everyone, and a lot of things coming back. I was shared a little bit today. I've been with RE/MAX about 7 months now, 8 months, and I come from a luxury background, so from everything land development, sales, marketing, hiring and training, to also picking what the affluent want to see inside and outside their homes. Most recently, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and moved back to Denver and joined the RE/MAX group, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. One of the items we're going to talk about today is what's happening, what's new within the RE/MAX collection. One of the parts of this position is looking at what we have in our marketplace as far as tools, education, evaluating what we need and what we need to go forward with and what we need to kind of weed out that's no longer working for us in our system. So this also requires some collaboration from you as well. So those that are working in the luxury market, those that are breaking into the luxury market, I really would like to hear from you. What's working? What's not working? What do you see? Whether it's tools, education. I'm going to talk a few things about what we're coming out with right now. We have just had our inaugural luxury forum, and actually we have a couple that have attended from Toronto and Canada in general, and it was in Manhattan Beach, California. So it was great attendance. We had David Collins with Real Marketing here that shared about luxury materials and marketing. We had Lori Moore. She's the president and founder of CLHMS, Certified Luxury Home Marketing designation. She's the founder of Institute for Luxury Homes Marketing, actually. So that we also have the Canadian course now, so if you choose to get the designation, you can find that on Main Street, and you can do that at your leisure online, or you can actually take the live course. And I'm telling you, I've taken the live course. The first month I was at RE/MAX, and I absolutely loved it. It really gives you the confidence to sell to luxury market, and if you're already in the luxury market, it gives you a lot more opportunity to know what is actually new in different, whether it's presentation materials, but also you're investing in education, which is very, very important to your marketplace. That being said, while online it's a $395 amount that you're paying, on the back end where I want to put together some type of spreadsheet or something that shares with you, you're getting over $3,000 in gimmies on the website, on the back end of that, on how to market yourself, how to brand yourself, whether that's through information that you're pulling off MLS and being able to put together charts and graphs, or just networking advantages as well. So I highly recommend that. We also are having the luxury forum I mentioned that we already had this year in Manhattan Beach. It's going to be the same time frame next year, November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, so I really hope to see a lot of you there. We're making it a little bit more of an extended. We had basically one night of networking, and the next day it was, boom, courses all day long, which everyone felt were very valuable. So this time we may do a little bit more of an event type situation, and then obviously networking, very important, and then maybe a day and a half of education. So that'll be November 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and the destination is to be determined. So it will be a nice warm place in November, though, I can assure you. Also, as far as we are just putting out our Maximize the RE/MAX collection. So it's a 30-minute how-to, a little bit more in-depth on the purpose of the RE/MAX collection, the value proposition, and also the resources and education. So that's a free course you can find on RE/MAX University by the end of this month. So we're quite excited about that. And the last is we've updated the design center. So by the end of January, you'll see more updated designs. So all black and silver, no more of the maroon that we used to have. So that's long gone. So let's not use that any longer. All the way down to yard signs and such. So I'm really, again, excited to be here, and we're going to just start asking questions with our panel. We have, on the end of the panel, we have Karen Gurland. We have, and next to her is Laureen Unroth, and then we have Mary Jane Viejo, and then David Collins with Real Marketing. So I think you'll find with this panel, with the experience level that they have and what they're going to bring to, we have Hall of Fame with Karen as well as Laureen Lifetime Achievement Awards, 100% Club, and also give back their offices to Children's Miracle Network. So I'm going to get started, and we're going to just have a conversation. And then again, afterwards, if you have questions, come on up to the podium, and happy to ask those. Or I'll be here after for quite a while if you're not going to whatever your next session is. So switch over and flip this. One of the first questions. Can you hear me now? This live? Here we go. One of the first questions we're going to talk about is how farming and prospecting is completely different in the luxury marketing. So I'm just going to let first Laureen chime in here.
Well, I like to think. Is the mic on?
Yeah, it is.
I like to think of it as not farming, but networking for the luxury high-end market, because most of the time when you're normally farming is giving up material and doing more than one home at a time, multiple or mass sending out materials. Whereas when you're in the luxury market, I find you're narrowing in on the client, knowing the needs of the client, networking to see what's available in the area. Clients like to know that you know what their homes are about, what the construction is. It might be a new home, it may be an older home. So you have to make sure that when you deal with a specific client that you know the type of home that the client is in. And when you market, if you're in a certain area, you certainly have to know everything about the area, because you have to realize that this client has very specific needs. They usually are moving to another area, but they want the same level of construction and quality. They're clients who are usually used to first-class service. They want to make sure that the agent is going to give them the service, as well as be very knowledgeable and knows all about the properties. So I think that's the most important thing in knowing in farming.
And also, I'm going to turn this to David, too, because we like to talk about the quality pieces that you're sending out to whether you're farming that area or just pieces in general. So I'm going to leave this to David.
Well, yeah, thank you. And we've done a lot of farming. Our company does about 4 million pieces a year in North America. And probably our best success is we took an agent. I'm from San Diego, California. The most coveted market there in the high end is clearly oceanfront. So we created 713 homes on the ocean. And it's very specific. None of the farming pieces were sent across the street. They literally had to be on the ocean. So it really showed the high-end homeowner that this particular agent specialized in what they had, and that was high-end or oceanfront. Statistically, that agent had never done a deal on the ocean. And classy agent, classy lady, well-dressed, presentation is a lot in the high end. And she had the etiquette. I think one of the biggest concerns, I've talked to many, many high-end homeowners across North America, their concern with you as an agent, we think that a lot of it is our presentation, but in the back of their mind is, can you relate to the buyer? So am I putting an agent in front of a buyer who understands that this person is worth $20, $30, $40 million and how they actually operate? Back to the agent on the ocean. So we've found we used the magazine and we used some other collateral pieces to mail directly into that farm area. She did $17 million her first year. Took 4 listings off the ocean. So if the farming piece is of the quality that they're used to seeing, I know you're going to get some traction. Here's the bottom line. Is your farming piece like everything else they buy? They buy a $150,000 Mercedes. They buy a $65,000 Rolex. Look at the marketing materials on those products. Your property brochure and everything about you has to be about that quality. And here's the other big disconnect I see. If you're going to do farming into the high end, you need to have a separate website that's all high end. So I can't get a high end piece from you, go to your website, and it says, I sell all of Toronto.
Thank you, David. That brings me to Karen. Karen, we were talking a little bit when we were in the other room about website and social media and how you're marketing to that group as far as farming as well. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, you have to understand your audience, who you're targeting, and this is a higher educated market. They're knowledgeable, they're astute, they're savvy, they're politically aware. These are usually business professionals, And they expect that same type of expertise from the people they hire. They want added value service. So, putting your high-end $10 million property on a Facebook page is probably not the route to take. LinkedIn is another great avenue. There's some higher-end websites, the luxury home marketing websites. Even going into niche markets. Understand the neighborhood you're selling into. If you're targeting a particular cultural group, you may want to consider putting your ads in those particular publications that appeal to that buyer who is coming in from other countries. So don't negate the importance of putting ads in, publications from Iran or mainland China or anywhere else who are buying into particular neighborhoods. Web-based marketing is important, doing YouTube videos. I'm not adverse to doing that. I've done that and have received many hits. But do it, again, at a higher end caliber, a professional level. Hire a professional to come in and do your photography, not your relative or your brother or sister, okay? Spend some dollars in putting out quality material. Your client will expect that from you as well.
Sure. Thank you, Karen. I'm going to let Mary Jane answer some as well.
Basically, with the luxury market, these people have specific needs in terms of time is money. I've dealt with a lot of people who are business owners, and to them, being punctual is a big thing. But the big thing that was touched on earlier is that you really have to know the product inside out. Architectural features, how much these things cost, what are the points of distinction. And when you go in there, you should be the person that points them out, not the person that actually is being talked to. You should point them out. You should note the points of distinction. You need to look like you're fully knowledgeable of all those costs and what's going to set that property apart from the other properties. I've been fortunate enough to work at Remax Realtron where there are a number of agents in this seven-figure range. One of them is my very good friend, and he's allowed me over the years to come in and learn from him. He's actually sitting right there. His name's Robert Kroll. So, if you feel that that is something that's very difficult for you to learn or get the knowledge, pair up with somebody who's been in the business for a quarter of a century. Pair up with somebody that knows property from the ground up. I have knowledge from land development, building, infill sites, and all of that. So I've been fortunate enough that way, but surround yourself with people who know that inside out and make it your business to know that, because knowledge is power in that particular market.
Absolutely. Next question is, what unique needs do buyers and sellers have in the luxury market? David, I'm going to start with you.
Unique needs for the buyers and sellers. You know what? I think I'm going to relent to the agents on this one because they deal. I know just from the seller's point of view, I know that again we get back to the quality of the marketing materials. It's an absolute must. I cannot tell you how important that is and that it be done professional. And also hiring the professionals, the photographers. If you're the best photographer in the world, it just doesn't look good for you to say, sign this listing agreement and whip out your camera. And I don't care. I have a $12,000 camera. I don't do it. It just doesn't work. But I think these ladies are probably better.
Laureen?
Well, I think every client wants to feel that they're special and that you are going to know the things that they need, that they're accustomed to, and don't give them anything less. They don't want to feel that they're hiring an agent, they're paying a lot of money, and they feel not only do they want a first-class experience, but they want to know that they're getting first-class service. They don't want to have to worry that somebody's going to be bothering them. They want to know that they're giving their home over to somebody who's going to take over, that if they're in a field where they're a doctor or a lawyer, a doctor doesn't expect the patient to say, well, what do you think? He's coming to you to tell them what they should do. So if you don't know, don't say anything. Make sure you get the right people in. If you feel the house needs something, don't say, well, I think you should do this or that. First say, look, I'd like to discuss it with somebody. Maybe we can have some, opinions for you and let them decide. The one thing I've learned in this business is it's better to say you don't know than pretend you do know and then be proven wrong. That's the number one mistake.
We were talking a little bit also about communication and how important that is, not just from obviously the everyday, but also it's listening to your buyer and seller on how they want you to communicate, whether that's via email, whether that's texting, whether that's, telephone call, whatever that is. But that's really, really important, and it also builds, the trust and confidence on both sides of the relationship. Karen?
Yeah, no, to take that a step further, knowledge is key, but not only knowledge about the neighborhood, the property, they want you to be knowledgeable about external circumstances, economic circumstances, political impact upon real estate. You have to be, a so-called expert to them and advise them. Why isn't the house selling? Why, what is the change or the impact of a certain government change? What's happening in the world situation? For example, Iran, has there been a freeze put on the funding there, which is impacting certain neighborhoods around the city? You have to be aware and keep current on world affairs, on political affairs, on local affairs, and be able to discuss intelligently to your client about the impact on the real estate market. They want you to be able to talk intelligently to them about the impact on their own home. So it's the broader picture. So yes, of course, you have to know the neighborhood. You have to be current on what features sell, what is important, what's not important. That's a given at any level of the market. But it's even more important to have a broader knowledge at the higher end market.
And I'm going to let you touch on, Mary Jane, if you don't mind, about knowing the agents in the area, because that's something that they bring up as well, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. They're going to identify agents that they're very familiar with in those areas as dominant agents. And I'm going to take myself as an example. I am registered with RE/MAX Realtron, and it is the #1 RE/MAX in the world. However, my location where I'm at is Scarborough. So I never let that hinder me. That is one of the lowest per capita real estate. It's below average of the Toronto market. So when I say do real estate in Toronto, they think, okay, average home is $520. Great. There are pockets in Scarborough where I started selling apartments less than $100,000 where nobody would come at night. I didn't let that hinder me from breaking into being able to sell a 7-figure property. Why? Yes, I do have background in financial analysis management and talk intelligently about global political economy because that's what I studied and that's what I worked in. However, what I did was I leveraged strengths of dominant agents who I knew dominated in top markets, learned from them, volunteered to do open houses for them, talked to them about their business, rubbed elbows with people who were of that caliber in those neighborhoods. And basically, if you do that, there is no barrier to what you can sell or what you can do. And I did attend the luxury forum and took a lot away from that. A, presentation is a big thing. B, being the educational knowledge in terms of macroeconomic factors and all of that. But C, understanding who's dominant, maybe leveraging that strength if they're in your office. Ask them what traits are prevalent in their buyers or their sellers and learning from them. Because I don't think this business is necessarily all about promoting yourself, but we're all in this together, and there are people who've been in this business a lot longer and have attained much more higher levels of success, and we're all in it to learn from each other. And you know what? People will say, yes, we're intimidated to go to the guy that makes 7 figures consistently, but you know what? You'd be surprised. They'd be more than happy to help you.
Also, for the luxury market, some unique needs. They also like to hear a lot about what's happening in their neighborhood, whether it could be as small as country club, that you know the stats of who's winning at the tennis club, what about golf, or stories in general, whether historical about the area or about their home. So that's very important as well. And we touched on also a little bit about concierge service. They truly are looking to know, what do you know, what people do you know, what services can you provide them concierge service-wise, whether that's, down to where there's the car wash to, I have a phenomenal mechanic to, whatever it may be. I have a great landscaper. So they're looking also for you to suggest to them groups that you've used before that are very, very, that are used their services through other affluent as well and in their neighborhood. So it's also about local connection. We're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about how you invest in your marketing now. So, David, you start.
We have 460 clients that invest in their marketing, and In the high end, it's not an inexpensive proposition. So I actually did the math. I took the least expensive, the lowest number that I've ever seen anybody spend and break into the market was 30 grand in a year. And that was an agent who had some success in the 7-figure. San Diego is not uncommon. We have neighborhoods that start at $2.5 million. But really, really important is that if you get into this and you start to fund it, is that you know that you have the wherewithal to maintain it. It's not a quick fix. I can get an agent into a regular neighborhood in 4 months. The high end, you're looking at a year. And you've got to be present. I think being in the thing that we haven't talked about yet, attending charitable events. It's an incredibly inexpensive thing to do. And I helped an agent literally 2 months ago get a $16 million listing because I was having a conversation with a guy about the Concourse d'Elegance in Pebble Beach, which a RE/MAX broker brought me to. I'm not buying a car there, trust me, that's crazy money. But I just had this conversation with him about how this fundraiser went. And from that point on, this gentleman who owned this $16 million house, I was his guy. And I'm in the back of my mind going, well, that was nice. But anyway, you can go to a charitable event where they have auctions. You pay $100 for a dinner. 2 of you, it's $200 to go sit there. Don't bid on anything, but get in there, and then you have that. No. I'm giving back a car tomorrow at Barrett-Jackson that I bid on last year. But anyway, you really don't. But anyway, you're there, and then if you walk in and you see, you see a pink ribbon, and you can say, oh yeah, I was at the, did I see you at the, the Breast Cancer Foundation or the event last year? Or I was over here, And it can't be obnoxious. It can't be arrogant. It has to be almost in passing. It really, because they will pick up on it in a heartbeat. If you're arrogant, it just doesn't work. And they're classy people. I have to tell you, I've done some, Ann knows, I've done some incredible houses we did Phil Mickelson's, Dan Marino, Jeff Gordon. You talk to those people with a ton of money, they're humble, they're considerate, they're courteous, they love to be asked questions that are relevant. Really a wonderful group of people, but it is an expensive proposition. One of my favorite sayings, and I'll end it here, is you really need a moving price point to support that high-end habit, because it is an expensive proposition. And having said that, you need 2 different identities. You cannot cross those. If they see you're selling, I saw an agent lose a $5 million listing on the ocean because he got a deal from B of A and was an REO specialist. The other agent showed the homeowner that he had sold 50 homes under $100,000. Homeowner didn't hire him. But he had it he had it on the same website with his $5 million listings. Didn't work.
Direct mail with a call to action.
Direct mail, personalized call to action is really, really critical. It's why Publishers Clearinghouse sends everybody a check, or the bank sends you a check with your name on it. So every single piece that we do here in Canada, it's incredibly difficult, but we do accomplish it. This is Don Ellers over in West Vancouver, has their name on it. So it's not, and I'm talking about the address box. I'm saying this was prepared especially for Susan and Stephen Fuller. And then the calls to action on the inside, it says Stephen and Susan. So rather than saying dear neighbor, right, you're saying Stephen and Susan. You're actually addressing them personally. It's called variable data, and it's incredibly effective. Very few people here in Canada actually do it. We've got Western Canada covered for the last 2 years. We haven't been, this is our first trip to Eastern Canada. But you get this piece, any mailer, and it has my name on it, and someone else mails it without, there's a 7 times greater likelihood that they'll call me and not you.
The other piece of investing, too, we talked a little bit about market updates in your community. Laureen, do you want to talk about that?
I think it's very important, especially in the luxury end or in any actually marketplace, that you know the area. If you're going in trying to get a listing for a property that's high-end, you have to know everything that's happened in the area. You have to know the schools, you have to know the communities. I had a client coming here from Australia with a young family looking for a specific area that he was told about, and I had to know everything, so much so that I had to make sure that I took them to the right school for their children. I went to get them into the right club that they felt that they would feel comfortable. And so, like he says, we're trusting you with everything. We came here not knowing anything. He says, you've shown us the area. We think we'd like to live in it. You're telling us how good it is, but now you're showing us. So it was based on the agent who was me in that case, giving them this information for them to base an opinion. I'm sure that they went back and checked it out with friends, but when they checked it out, they found that what I had told them was true, and then they were comfortable moving in that area. And I kept in touch, just so that I never lost that client, knowing he was coming here, and I didn't know for how long. I kept in touch with him on a regular basis, always giving him the properties that had sold in the area, telling him that the value had gone up, and a year later he was off to another place.
What about press releases, whether they're, I'm going to direct this to Mary Jane, what about press releases for yourself and then also for the client or home?
Press releases, wow. I used to write them for a living, but ironically, I don't do them for myself. But a press release should be short and sweet. Press releases about yourself, you can do that in the form of a video on your website. You can do that as a blog. You can do that as a number of things, but I personally don't do that on properties.
What do you think about, Karen, you also had said something about a video as well, promoting yourself on video.
Oh, yeah. Well, yourself, the property, YouTube videos are great means of advertising. But utilize your clients. They're your best form of advertising. You know, you do a good job for your clients, they're going to promote you. And like-minded people hang with like-minded people. You want to tap into that luxury base. They'll talk about a good experience, and they'll promote you amongst their relatives, friends, and colleagues. So your clients, savor them, nurture them, keep in touch with them, befriend them, do what you have to do. They're your best source of business, and an easy source of business, and an inexpensive source of business. They're your prime source of business, actually, number one. Also, join those local organizations, the BNIs, the Chamber of Commerce groups, some very professional, high-level professionals, join them and mingle with them. It takes time. It's relationship building. It's not a one-off thing. And it takes a lot of time to build a business at any level, whether it's high-end or low-end. It's relationship building, and I can't emphasize that enough. Probably the most important part of your entire business will be relationship building.
It's almost as if you're embedding yourself into that community, isn't it?
You are. You are. You are.
So next we're going to talk about how you plan for expenses, so on a marketing campaign. So, Mary Jane?
You should look at your business, and I'm in the business of transitioning my business to make sure what I'm doing is actually making sense. Years and years I spent on pieces that were not targeted, pieces that were not like what David is offering here today. I did print advertising. I still do, because a lot of the older people like to see their house in the newspaper. It's kind of a comfort thing for them. So, I mean, $30,000 a year on that is what I spend on that. And, maybe it would be better directed towards a little bit more social media, a little bit more of this, a little bit more target marketing, as opposed to blanket marketing. I used to do the market update that came to everybody's door, but I just find it loses its luster when they're getting 20 of the same pieces. Mm-hmm. So I think from whatever your gross income is, it is not unreasonable to spend 15% of that back into your business. Because after taxes and expenses, you'll go down to, say, to 60% of that. It's almost half, but you have to make that commitment to invest in yourself, because that's what's going to get you your customers, mm-hmm. That's what's going to get you your clients. And at this point in time, I mean, 90% of my clients are referrals. So you don't just isolate. Yes, a lot of people will isolate themselves just in the luxury market, but my market is my people market. So 90% of that business, look at where your business comes from, and if it comes from your clients, reinvest into your in expenses, into taking care of those clients. Take them out for lunch, make it a whole experience. Get them home show tickets, send them little trinkets in the mail that you think are cool. And so it shows that you're in touch with them. Drop by if you're in the neighborhood. Oh, I heard you had a baby. Here's a little gift. These types of things are what you should be investing in, because your referral base and making that a positive experience and showing them that you do care will get you at least a 90% retention rate and referral rate.
It's also about prioritizing as well, because you need to know how long, if the previous owner had it, how long it stayed on the market. So you're looking at market research as well. So you need to know how many months you're planning for your market campaign overall. So Laureen or Karen, would you like to jump in there?
Market campaigning?
Market campaign. Yeah, it's a longer sale sometimes as well. And I don't your name.
Mary
Sorry.
Jane.
To your point, it's good to have those bread and butter types of clients as well. You know, a little bit lower end. I mean, you know, we target luxury, but you don't necessarily have to just focus in on one segment of the market. It's always good to have a mid-range clientele as well. The market changes, you know, as we know, and what is consistent business is what you want to have in your portfolio. So where's the high-end market going? Again, it changes. It's a longer sale. Can you afford to wait that year for that sale to take place? You know, do you need other business coming in at that time? So allow yourself the time to market, to advertise. It is a longer process, and you have to budget for that. It does involve a greater amount of dollars and maybe a more varied number of avenues of marketing, whether it's the YouTube, whether it's joining a business group, whether it's finding your client through niche marketing. Sometimes it's just trial and error, and sometimes it takes a long time to find that client. And even though you know who that client may be, just finding them and getting them in. And it's a longer decision-making process. It's not just a client coming in to take a look at the house one time. They may want to come back over a period of 6 months, 4 or 5 times. So you have to factor that into your budgeting as well, and look at varied levels of different market groups. That's my advice.
And also depending on broker events as well. So depending on if you're farming a certain market too, knowing who the brokers are, as we mentioned, in the area, and then appealing to them as well, and that within your presentation. Did you have something, Lauren?
I think networking is really important in any market, but especially in the high-end market. If I take a high-end property, I always network with the agents who I feel may also have buyers for that particular property, because I think it's really important that you have to share. And all the clients, the sellers, want to know that you know the right people. Oh, did this one see my house? Did the other one see my house? That's so important for them. And how they'll come to see the house, the other agents, is by encouragement from you, is please do me the courtesy of coming and seeing the house. And very often, you never know. They may not have the buyer initially, but, oh, I have somebody in mind, and they end up coming back and ultimately may even sell the house. But it's so important to have a network of other agents who are there to support you, and you can support them, whether it be inviting them for lunch, or if I have very often an opening, I'll invite them to lunch to come preview the house, and a lot of them will come out and see it.
Well, also planning with your expenses. I noticed your business cards, you know, it starts from right when you walk in the door too. So obviously your average expenses are going to be business cards, stationery, those type of things. They're branding yourself as a luxury market specialist. But David, are there 1 or 2 pieces that stand out in your mind that are must-haves? You must have in your portfolio from the time you walk in the door for any type of presentation. Just 1 or 2 is all you can pick.
Yeah, I have to pick the top
1 or 2.
2, yeah. Clearly property brochures. They have to be professional. We all know that they don't sell the house, but the homeowner wants to see their house in lights, especially in the high end. In the high end, you get up over that $5 million, I usually start recommending 8-page brochures, so, you know, double the standard. Just something unique, something they believe is going to sell their house. And the other is the magazine, and most of us know that the magazine does not sell houses. I have 25 years of doing this. I've never seen anybody look at a house in a magazine and buy it. But they believe that this is going to help to sell their house. Can I talk about the cover? So one of the things we did, I founded the magazine a couple of years ago, and this is the RE/MAX Collection magazine. This is a Paradise Valley edition. There's also a New England edition. There's a couple others editions as well. So this magazine, we went after 5,500 homes in a particular neighborhood called Paradise Valley. They all started $1 million and go up. We took an office, put 6 agents together, really good agents together. And so in this particular one, this is Chris Anderson. A lot of you may know her, actually. So Chris Anderson is featured on the inside front cover, and her property is featured on the front cover. Simultaneously, this same edition is going out to New England, and we have 9 different covers that go out to that particular neighborhood. So now we have the high-end homeowners going, these are the nicest houses in the world, and my local agent is on the front cover, and they're the featured agent of the month. So we're creating that perception that this particular agent knows what they're doing. This will get her the call. Once you get the call, These ladies have just told you what you need to do to get the listing. But this is an incredible tool, very inexpensive. You'll all get one of these tomorrow on your chair. It'll actually show you the market update and this piece here.
Thank you, David. Also, how do you start a conversation when we're talking about putting your marketing plan together and time frame and such? So when you're talking to your, buyer and seller about expenses and time frame about who pays what and how, whether it's, okay, great, the house is going to be on the market for 6 months, so this is plan A, B, or C. So we have, let's say you put together your market plan and you have a bronze, silver, and gold marketing plan, and this is what you have in each category of your marketing plan, and then you also have your time frame, right? You have it's going to sell in 6, 9, 12, 18 months, what have you. So how does that conversation go when you're talking to your buyer or seller? Laureen?
Well, I think it's perceived value. I think you have to give a client perceived value. Like, my clients don't pay for the marketing, I pay for the marketing. But they all ask the question about commissions. Well, on a $5 million house, you're talking about 5% commission. That's a lot of money. But they never know, they think you're getting all the money. So they're perceiving that you're getting all the money. So you have to explain that you do the brochures, that you do all the things that you do so that they realize, well, gee, she's not getting that much. Because if they don't see a perceived value, then they don't think the marketing is worth anything. So I think that's the most important thing.
Mary Jane?
The sellers in that market are very astute. So when you do lay it out for them, they understand. However, having the bronze and the gold and the silver is what I've traditionally done for a commission grid. And you just take away some of those packages with the rate that you're going to charge them, whether it's 6 or 5 or 4.5. You say you get what you pay for, and these are the packages I have available to you. It eliminates the question of commission right off the top.
Karen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's expectation setting. You do that right up front. And also, don't underestimate your own value and services that you offer, and make sure they understand exactly what you're going to do. Whether it's the most minute task, put that in, because it's your time that's involved. And we often overlook things. Even you're driving for showings or showing the house at each showing. And that's time, value is time and money. So make sure they understand exactly what you're going to do. From having that sign installed, to putting a small ad in, to just making the phone calls to your colleagues. That's all time, and that translates to money. And if they understand that up front and set expectations, then you don't have a problem later on.
Thank you. That's very important, the expectation setting, isn't it? I'm going to go into a little bit about how we use and how you get into the program for the RE/MAX collection. First of all, it is free. So that's a bonus, right off the bat. To get into the RE/MAX collection, again, it is free. So you may use the logos, you may use yard signs, listing presentation materials. So the free portion means you're welcome to call eCare, myself, and we have a threshold, which means on your property, on the zip code, it will share what that threshold is. So if you have a $500,000 property, usually we like to say twice the average of that zip code would be a RE/MAX collection listing property. So here I just saw great news, $520,000 is right now the average home, so it would be $1,040,000. If let's just say you have an absolutely gorgeous property and you have incredible photography, as we mentioned, very, very important, and you don't have a balloon head in your profile, you have your handsome or pretty face in there, so then you qualify, and that property does not qualify. Let's say it's maybe $20,000 off or $40,000 off, but it truly meets all the expectation of luxury. You're welcome to go to your broker owner and have him click you into the box of RE/MAX collection. He or she is the only person that can do that besides myself. But again, they will ask to see what type of photography you have, if your headshot is a professional headshot prior to getting into the RE/MAX collection. So also the website, it's an automatic feed. So if you're in your area, MLS automatically feeds to the website. We do, as you know, have the remax.ca, RE/MAX Canada collection website for luxury property, as well as the RE/MAX Collection US site. So they feed to both. The RE/MAX Collection US and Canada are separate sites. However, they are linked to both. So again, that doesn't cost you anything to get on the site if you have a collection property. The other way to get on the site is if you have the CLHMS designation, the Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist designation. So if you have that designation, the great news about that is if you have the designation and you don't have a property, your name will be listed on the site for lead sharing purposes to you. And if you do have the designation and you have a property and you sell your property, that property will come off, but your name will stay on. So again, even if you don't have the designation, your property goes on if it meets the qualification, but once your property is under contract, it will automatically come off. We also, as I mentioned, have presentation materials on Design Center, which have been updated, and then as well as Real Marketing, a wonderful approved supplier, highly recommend. We have a link to David's website that shows absolutely every piece of marketing material that's offered. And then also we have pins and then also specialty offices. So how to designate yourself in an office. Let's say you have a RE/MAX office that is not all luxury and you're wanting to define yourself as a luxury professional and you already are selling luxury properties. You know, you can talk to them about perhaps setting up a special area in the office that may be branded black and silver, or you may have a plaque on your door that's, you know, the RE/MAX collection, what I have here, the logo on the door, just something that maybe identifies you in an office as you are a luxury professional. So that's always helpful too when you're A, presentation if you're having people come into your office, or B, just other agents, it promotes a conversation as well. So we're going to open this up now to questions if anyone would like to come up and ask some questions.
Just a quick correction, Ann, for the collection site in Canada, here in Ontario.
Yes, Dan.
We've done a different business rule.
Okay.
We automatically market your properties at 3 times the listing average.
Okay.
We've been working with your brokers to see whether that's realistic or not.
Mm-hmm.
In a market like GTA, we started at $1.5 million, and we're about to drop it by $10,000 for each mark, so that if you're listing a property at $149, it catches the collection marketing. So we're going to drop each of our prices by $10,000, but it's 3 times the market average. When you get outside of GTA, like Barrie, $950,000 doesn't make sense for Barrie, so we dropped it to $700 now and $40,000. So check with your broker, and it is marketed automatically. And importantly, it's also marketed to global.remax.com, which is a huge differentiator from the market. So,
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. Yes, and on .com and all sites, yes, it's also linked to the global. So thank you for that. But I think what's great about the conversation is the fact that we are looking at each market individually, all across, you know, international as well as U.S. So it truly is specific to your market area, because again, we're about inclusion, not exclusion. So, and we really, really want the brand as far as RE/MAX collection. We don't want to dilute it. And but again, we know that some markets aren't that 500,000, aren't that million. So we definitely want to include them into the RE/MAX collection as well. So any other questions? Yes.
I just want to know, for any of you guys, there are some brochures, feature sheets, listings. Do you have your clients approve it, or you make the decisions?
The question is regarding listing presentations and brochures.
No, listing, the actual MLS listing.
Oh, the MLS listing. If you actually have your clients approve those.
Depends on the client.
It depends on the client, but I always give them the opportunity. Before I go to print, I always show them the brochure and say, how does this look? Because once you go to print and then you show it to them, if they don't like it, what are you going to do? You've just wasted a lot of your marketing dollars.
Setting up the expectation, as Karen had said.
And that's right. I give them the option. I always ask them, I said, do you trust me to go ahead and submit this without seeing, or would you prefer to review it before? Depends on the client. I've got some very hands-on clients. I've got others just so busy they don't want to have any part of it. So depends on the client.
What you can ask them before you even put a brochure together is ask them what distinct highlights they really would like to see you highlight. So if you're including their input in, chances are they're just going to be fine with what you do.
Yeah.
But ask for that input and ask for the differentiating features they want highlighted.
Absolutely. You're also going to know what's happening in the neighborhood too. And while we all know that our buyer or seller thinks that theirs is the best, you know, you also want to make sure that you're putting in what the neighborhood has as well, if it is similar. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
to the agents, and in the presentation to a collection property, and I have one right now, and love all the things that are happening, but landing these now I'm going to commit to you for the next 1 year, and if it doesn't sell, I'm out that money, I'm okay with that. Sellers are just going to let you eat it all.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, and if you're going to eat it all, how do you then justify all this? I mean, it's a big cost.
You know what it is?
Carry $1 million property in my size city, and guess what? Just got a call 1118, please come and list my property, $2 million.
I
So I got a lot of costs to face, and the luxury market is very slow in mid-size Ontario.
I agree, and I had an accountant who once thought it was ridiculous. He said, I don't understand, I've got all real estate people as clients. He says, and they're all spending all this, why don't they just approach their client and say, look, I'm going to front the money if need be, and at the end we will take it off when the house sells. But because we're in such a competitive market, and it hasn't really been done that way. So what's happened is a precedent has been set by a lot of the other agents. And so if you go in and you may be at risk of not getting. If you're prepared for that risk, then it would be great. And we'd like somebody to be the first one to set a trend. But
To not get it.
most of us don't want to lose getting the business, so we don't do it.
Well, in December, Rico announced that we could change the platform on the commissions. And I got this $2 million listing, I hope, because I did that. And that is fixed cost plus commission. And the fixed cost, the seller's paying me.
Okay.
In December, Rico announced
It's
that
different.
we can do that.
It's different where we are.
It's different probably where you are
That's
than
right.
where we are.
Sure,
That's-
but luxury is luxury regardless of your city. If it's Toronto, it's 5 to 10 million. Where I live, it's
We're just
7 to
talking about the
50.
mentality of the sellers in our neighborhood.
right.
Exactly.
If you were to go say that, they might even find it offensive or crass.
That's right.
So
You know what, and
Yeah,
I'd say,
but they don't find it offensive to crass, they come right to you. So what's the cheapest you'll work for?
Wow.
Right.
All right.
And you have a decision to make at that
then
point.
Yeah.
you can walk away.
That's right.
So I've seen one agent, and it's Ann Clausen out of Whistler, and she does most of the high end there. Every single one of her clients she charges. All right?
That's right.
So
You said
she
it.
would be a great one
That's right.
to come. But you're going to
Great
have.
reference point.
Understand on behalf of us as the agents. Then we deliver the other stuff. Fantastic
We get that.
communication, fantastic networking, fantastic. What you never talked about today was negotiating a multi-million-dollar deal. There's a skill that is different than 279.
Right.
Yep.
I gotta ask David this question, it's very interesting.
Yes, one last question.
Okay, David, I would say that people would, to have your name on the sign on their lawn, that negotiating commission wouldn't be an issue because they associate your name by getting top dollar, because my question is, how long did it take you to get your name as a luxury?
So I own a luxury marketing company, and so we guide the agents.
Okay.
And so really the best way to do it is you need to get that first listing and then leverage it. So
Okay.
we've taken a lot of it. If you have that, you're the one listing that he has at $1 million, I could leverage in his community
Okay.
endlessly. Now that he's got two, we just keep going.
Okay.
But the precedent's been set in his market whether the agent pays for it or not. That there's nothing we can do about. But there is a tremendous amount of power in having that other, and then leveraging it. I tell you, we don't have time for it right now, but you show me a property brochure that does not have a mailing box on the back of it, and I will take that agent down in a listing appointment every time. Think about it. How many of you have a property brochure that has a mailing box on the back of it? And it's a great, great conversation because if it's just a point of purchase and it's not getting distributed to those potential buyers, then it's just a conversation. It's a great tool. The homeowner, so you say, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I see that Susie has this beautiful brochure and it has no property address. That means the only people that are seeing this are the people that are seeing the house. Here's one of the things that we do. We know that 67% of all home buyers have their house on the market right now. So I'm going to take your beautiful property brochure and mail it to them and not leave it up to the other agent to show yours over the others. Now, Susie walks in and throws her beautiful property brochure on. The homeowner takes it, flips it over, and there's no address box on it. She doesn't even know why she's dead in the water, and the homeowner won't tell her.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like,
Excellent.
that's a,
Great advice.
and you can mail
Direct
100.
marketing.
I
on
mean,
your
just put
brochure.
mailing
No, we
box.
don't.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, everyone, for coming today, and thank you to my
Their
panel.
name.
Really appreciate
Oh,
having
their
you all
name.
here today.
Oh,
Thank
their
you.
Who you're giving it to.